This is Making Waves with Pastor Mia on Heaven 600. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Tonight's roundtable discussion is foster care system, aging out of the system. And our wonderful roundtable panelists tonight are...
Good evening, my name is Wayne Sally.
Good evening, I'm Jacqueline Williams, Associate Pastor at the Out of the Box Ministries.
Hi, my name is Valerie Moore, and I'm an ex-employee at Department of Social Services.
Hi, my name is Jeanette Sellersberg. I'm a previous program manager and also the administrator of the CPS program and foster care program for Baltimore City Department of Social Services.
My name is Marvin McKinstry, leader of the Liberation Movement.
Good evening. My name is Monifa Jeffrey Riggins. I'm the owner of Living Well Matters, a counseling and wellness practice in the west side of Baltimore. And I formerly worked at a treatment foster care agency and along with group homes.
I'm Greg Harris with Wynn Family Services.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tiffany Proctor. I'm an ex-foster child and just ready to talk about this.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let's get started. Let's let our listeners know what actually happens when a child is released from foster care. And that would be, what's the procedure that actually happens?
Basically, when a child's released from foster care, they're usually aged out at age 18. And between the ages of 18 and 21, they're generally aftercare services. And generally they're done through private agencies, various programs to assist them through the process.
Okay. Now, some get independent housing programs, right?
Yes.
And some don't get them, right?
Correct.
How is it determined who gets independent assisted housing?
Independent housing programs begin when the child is around 16. It depends on what they're working through at that point, what they've learned, their educational level, their developmental age as far as their ability to take care of themselves. And what determines when they get it is how they've come through that process, you know, as far as being able to handle independent living.
Okay.
And they also are trained in various aspects of that.
Do they get any money?
Well, when they're foster care, yes, that's a grant process that they would receive.
No, I'm talking about when they are 18 years old or 21 in some cases and they're released out of foster care system. Do they have a check?
If they're in the independent living program, they will continue to get some monetary assistance to help them with that program as they're growing to the point of being able to be independent.
And if they're released out without being independent?
Sometimes children have left the program, or young people have left the program without being independent. And when they've done that, oftentimes, unless they come back and reapply for some things, they are not going to have any services provided to them.
Okay. So if I'm hearing you correctly, if they work the system and stay for the independent housing program, then they are eligible to get funds and services. But if they walk away at 18 or at 21 and are on their own, they do not get any funds or any services.
Exactly, because if they walk away, then that case is closed out, and that means, as far as the state of Maryland is concerned, they will be no longer responsible for it.
Okay. My next question is, and this will go to everyone, and I'm going to go around the table. In your opinion or in your experience, do you feel like foster kids are really ready at 18 or 21 when they are released? We can start right here.
Again, my name is Wayne Sally, and when I answer this question, I can say from experience that no, I was not ready to come out of the system at the time. And I say that because I had no financial literacy skills at all. I feel that in order for a foster child to be successful, that something should be put in place where it's mandatory that foster kids should be taught about balancing checkbooks, opening bank accounts, actually paying bills, real life skills, you know. I also believe etiquette classes should be given too, as far as how to conduct yourself as a young man or a young lady. Me personally, when I came out, I wasn't ready at all. It was a big culture shock for me. To give a little background on what I went through, I had been in foster care since I was 6 months old, and I had some ups and downs with the foster family that I was with, but there weren't a lot of checks and balances in place that could have actually helped me to transition a lot more smoothly. So when like I said, when I actually did make it out of foster care, I had no idea about myself or how to conduct myself. So.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes, again, Assistant Pastor Jacqueline Williams. I would say at 18, unless this child is being released to a good home or guardian that know they should not be just turned loose, because where would they go? At 18, they're just really discovering who they are, and there's so many predators out here in this world ready to suck up our children at that age. It's just too many negative things that they would get themselves involved with just trying to survive. There ought to be something set in place, either by the government or outreach through churches, that the 18-year-old, once being released from foster care, can have someplace where they can go and either educate or re-educate themselves until they are old enough to be on their own, until adulthood, maybe giving them GED if they didn't get that in foster care, offering them college educations, all kind of grants and aids in order to help them transition into adulthood. Because at 18, it's so many decisions they need to make. What about taking care of themselves job-wise? They're too young. Some places will not even hire them at that age because they don't have experience. How will they take care of themselves?
Absolutely.
So there needs to be something set in order, someplace for them to transition to, not just to cut them loose, to go in the streets, to get subject to being killed, subject of being hurt, get caught up in illegal drugs and various things of that nature. There needs to be a safe haven for those at 18 years old to be a place where they can transition to.
Absolutely. All right. That would be the lovely Miss Sable, right? John Sable?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. There's really nothing else I can say. She said it all. She did an excellent job. But we also got to say that children, they don't mature. People don't mature until they're around 25 to 29 years old.
Exactly.
So putting them out in the community without resources is it's hurtful to the child or to that particular person. And then that's why they make so many bad decisions, is because they don't know what decisions to make. Most of the time they're just trying to survive.
Yes.
And trying to survive, so I'll do what it takes to survive.
Wonderful.
Jeanette Salisbury. I basically agree with everything that's been said thus far, but there are also opportunities when they're going through the foster care system whereby they are set in training programs. Some of them will attend, some of them will not. Sometimes you cannot mandate them to take advantage of some of the things that you're offering them, but there are programs that they come through that will teach them how to budget an account now, how to manage money now, how to do things in making decisions for themselves. But a lot of times, because of their youthfulness, they don't want to participate in those things. So then you end up losing them at the point that you're trying to develop them, and at the point you're trying to prepare them for that world that they're going to come in contact with as they're getting older.
Thank you. Minister Marvin McKinstry?
In my day job, I work in an agency in the city where we service young people ages 16 to 24. With everything from GED to career-oriented services, etiquette, financial literacy. And one of the things that I can say is that you have those few case managers who are diligent in bringing young people to our programs and creating that partnership. And one of the things that I can honestly say is that it's not done enough or well enough at that level while they're still receiving services, because they may mandate a program or offer something in that cycle, but normally that offering isn't being offered by people like the agency where I work, where we're the experts. We're the ones that know how to capture youth, hold on to youth, as it pertains to that particular service. I think the generalist approach is where we lose a lot of our youth, where you have one person and they're trying to put this young person's entire life together. That just does not work. it needs to be someone who specializes in the clinical services to deal with the clinical aspect of this young person, someone who deals with the aspects of the benefits and residential to deal with that aspect of the young person, and let us do the other parts where we're dealing with everything from literacy to financial literacy to how to prepare yourself for the workforce. I think when you throw an age out there, it's always a broad spectrum, because at 17 years old, I was defending my country. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I was at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, in basic training at 17. So that number thing can go either way. But the difference was I was in some structure. The United States Army was teaching me what it meant to operate inside of their structure. So yeah, you turn anybody ill-prepared out to nothing, and they're going to fail miserably.
Yes.
But the partnerships is what I would like to see. And as I said, we have some case managers that's in the foster care system right now that I work with that are really diligent about saying, hey Marvin, I got this young man, I'm trying to reach him as it pertains to these things, but I can't. Can you lock in? We lock in and the partnership works. I think that in many instances they're asked to do too much, and it's mandated that they try to do this too much. So those are wrinkles in the system that can't be blamed on the case manager, but as community service providers, we got to partner better in the lives of these young people.
Wonderful. Before I give Ms. Munifa an opportunity to speak, I do want to say that you're listening to Making Waves with Pastor Mia. Our sponsors for tonight are Nelson's Auto, the Home Store, IFN, which is the Inspirational Faith Network. And I'd also like to say the views expressed by our guests are not those of Making Waves with Pastor Mia or our sponsors. And with that being said, please give us your opinion.
Well, I agree with a lot of what has been said. I just want to add that in foster care, you age out at the age of 21. And there are, as you said, there are supports and resources in place to provide assistance to our young people that are in care. And I also agree with you, Marvin, that collaboration is necessary because it takes a village to raise a single child, let alone our young people that have been removed from their home, have had numerous placements, have moved around to numerous communities and school settings and things of that nature, and in addition have experienced a lot of trauma. So I would say that it takes a lifetime for us to develop, and at the age of 18 or 21, I don't know too many people who are ready to be self-sufficient and live independently on their own, let alone to have a background of instability and to not be connected to your family or your community. So I think there are a number of things that have to be addressed, one in which we have to start addressing our mental health.
Yes.
And the impact that being removed from our families, being removed from our communities, being removed from our loved ones, and having that instability, what impact does that have on us? And I think we really need to pay a lot of attention to that and collaborate with each other as partners to address the core issues that we see when we're working with our young people, which we may call acting out behaviors for a lack of better terminology. But I do think that for those few who are able to work the system, for lack of better terminology, and are able to develop meaningful relationships that exist beyond their DSS worker or beyond someone that's been identified to support them. I think with ongoing support and lasting relationships, that they have a better chance of being ready at a later age.
Wonderful.
Greg Harris, Win Family Services. I recall a story that I heard at a conference. It was a foster care conference about 10 years ago. And it was a panel of young people, and they ranged from ages like 18 to 21. And they were talking about the pros and cons of being in the system. And so they were the panel, we the providers were the audience, and we were just asking them questions. The session ended with one of the providers asking the question, you know, how can we better serve you all? That was the question. And the response was, it was like 6 young adults. And one gentleman, he stood up and he said, for you all, this is how you can help us out. You can help us out by not waiting until we're 18 to start teaching us independent living skills.
Absolutely.
And then you kick us out, and you've literally spoon-fed us
Yes.
up until 18, and then you, who said that term, let us out, you know, let you out. And, you know, I've been with WIN for over 20 years, and you see, I've always clown about how, you know, when they're children, they're I mean, really, you know, cared for, you know, and all that. And you made mention, Monifa, about how, you know, there's challenges. WIN provides services to the teenage population. So we don't get to see the CLKs, the cute little kids. You know, we don't deal with those.
The babies.
We don't deal with the babies. We deal with the teenagers. And one of the things that we see is that trauma, that challenge,
The hurt,
the pain of dealing with that, and we try to bring them through that and usher them in. Well, one of the things that happens is they are done.
Yes.
Done with the system, done with the pain, done with the hurt. So even though there may be resources or supports available, you know, they have, you know, may have one thing in mind: out.
Yes.
You know, getting out. And, you know, so we have experienced youth going out and then, you know, putting in that request to be brought back into care, you know, because of experiencing how rough it is out there. And as, you know, we've known through the system, we understand why. You know, I understand why. You know, we've seen it. We've seen the hurt. We've seen the pain. We've seen the struggle. And, you know, we have our success stories. We have success stories where you see young people that have made it through the process, through the hurt, and have been able to, you know, matriculate themselves out and really, you know, take a hold of resources. And it's kind of unfair to put that responsibility, you know, onto them, because think about other young people, either the military or college. Really think about it. That's a transition.
Yes.
That's a transition. But for young people to be, you know, to say, you know, okay, you're 18, now you're on your own. Nobody really gets on their, that is far and few in between. To be on your own and to fly straight and to fly right.
Yes.
You know, at 18 and 21, I like how you said, you know, you ain't really formed in your head until you're 26, 27. You don't know what you're doing. You know, it's crazy. And, you know, it's really something else. So the more supports and linkages and, you know, creating that bridge, creating that road to transition appropriately is so important.
Wonderful.
It's so important.
Tiffany Proctor.
Well. Being through that road or going through that road, I just strongly believe it's a process with everything. And like you said, we don't mature until we 25 to 29. Now I see why my first marriage failed. You know, I see why I wasn't ready when I wanted to get out, like you said, because I was still hurt. I was still hurt because of the fact of being in foster care, even though I had some good foster parents. It's not that all of them wasn't bad. All of them didn't put me through a lot. And even though, you know, I was a victim, but I can also say I'm a survivor, thank God. And going through that, I mean, I left in 1998. I was 18 years of age. I thought I was grown. I was like, I'm driving. Y'all can't tell me nothing. I mean, you know, it was like, I'm gone. You know, my past is behind me, but even though my past grew to catch up with me. you know.
Because you hadn't dealt with it.
I haven't dealt with it. Still to this day, I'm dealing with it. It's just that I'm strong enough now that it doesn't faze me. I can talk about it, talk about my hurts, talk about my pain, talk about what I went through. But honest to God, I really can't blame anyone. I could just blame that it was a process. And I could blame that it's a system, but I really can't point the fingers. Because now I'm an adult, I can't really say, well, because I went through this hell in foster care, that's why I was a criminal, or that's why I was a prostitute, or that's why I was a stripper, or that's why I hurt someone, or that's why I got put out of Baltimore City. I can't really say that. I was going through something, but instead of me reaching out to the right people that was reaching out to me, I just didn't grab onto that reaching out. I just was like, forget it, I want to go. Let me just marry this dude. He is older, you know. He can't help me get through this, you know. And then foster care also, I feel, pushed me on him too, because some things happened into that. So being at 18, leaving at 18, and didn't go through what I should have went through, even though I did go to college. I finally did get a degree, thank God. But maybe if I just would have listened to some of the people that were talking to me that were older too. But at that point, when you're so hurt and so going through, you just like,
Shut down.
I just want to go. I want to get away from Baltimore. I don't want to be in this place. I just want to be successful. I just want to have my own. I just want to do my own, not knowing what that success is. Bouncing checkbooks, the whole 9. Maxed out credit cards. Who's going to help me with that, you know? So, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I'm hearing everybody touched on my next question, so I'm going to just ask for 2 things from each person. Okay, just 2 words that you think would better improve the chances of youth at succeeding once they are released. If somehow we could have it magically implemented and put it in the system, 2 words. Okay.
I would say better screening for the foster parents.
Okay.
I would say love and guidance, because they're coming out bruised and wounded, and they need that love, and they need good, strong guidance.
Okay.
Mrs. Valerie, reach them early. That's what I would say, start early.
All right.
Sister Valerie took mine.
All right.
But I do need to say that you can start with the independent living programs as early as 14, and I think that's what they need to do more of.
All right.
People who work in with them at any level to be truly passionate about what they're doing beyond even education, as well as better partnerships.
Partnership and passion. I
to
like
make
that.
the transition even smoother and better from one place or one level to the next.
All right. It's Monifa.
I say true family support. True family support and partnerships.
Wonderful. Mr. Greg Harris. She didn't steal yours. Come on, come on.
I'll agree with what she said. Yeah, but because that's awesome, you know, family support
Absolutely.
and partnerships. Because one of the things that we focus on with Family Services is staying connected to the birth family.
Yes.
You know, when they're in DSS, they're not, you know, not to separate and then at their 18, oh yeah, go back to your mom and your dad or whosoever. You know,
Yes.
but as much as feasibly possible, stay connected to the family.
Yes.
Keep them connected because they're not going to be with us forever.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And you want to get my CEO Outlaws real upset? Don't
Reunification, yes.
don't be involved with the birth family. Always stay connected with the birth family and resources.
Okay, okay. Well, that's one of the things that I liked about Win Family Services. I'm an ex foster parent with Win Teen Family Services, and that was one of the things that I liked years ago when I was, the fact that family was important, because I don't know where I would be without my own family. And in the process of adopting a young man that I've had him since he was 2, he's 16 now. That's something that I've struggled with for years now. with making sure that I had some connection, because I know family is important. Now, the wonderful Miss Tiffany Proctor.
I don't know how to put it, but I would say structure, guidance, wisdom, I mean, all of it. Everything that's needed.
All right.
You know?
Oh, yeah. Okay, next one. What are the predictors of homelessness during the transition from foster care to adulthood? And I guess I would ask our two ladies that are actually have actually been in the foster care system, as well as Ms. Monifa and Mr. Greg Harris, because you've actually been there. And I know that in your wonderful experience over these course of years, you can sort of probably now see some things, some points, some predictors that's going to let you know, this might turn out well, this might be a little iffy, it might be a little dicey, we need to watch out. So let's start there.
This is Valerie. Some predictors that I've seen and I still see are young people and families who do not get counseling. They still think counseling and seeing a psychiatrist or a social worker or a counselor is still a family secret. You can't do it.
Taboo.
You think you're crazy if you go. And I think if they got the counseling and the help that they need, they can get some of those emotions out, and their success will be a lot better.
I absolutely
It's
agree.
a lack of counseling and, just so they can get some of their emotions out. And a lot of people hold them in and then it comes out in different ways, violence,
Yes.
rage, etc.
Thinking about predictors of homelessness, I think in terms of the failure to work with them early. I really do. When you don't include them early enough in that process, and like right now, the Department of Human Resources has renamed Independent Living Ready by 21. And since that is now the terminology that's used, then we need to begin early to make them ready by 21. And I think if we're not doing that, I think that is a good predictor of them becoming homeless.
All right.
This is Monifa. What I've seen in terms of predictors of homelessness, I'd say AWOLing a lot is a major predictor that I've seen. Youth not being connected to who they're living with or who they're placed with. They're placed with, they're not happy at their group home. They don't want to be this foster mother's house. They rather be at their girlfriend's or their boyfriend's house, or someone that they feel a sense of connection to. And what I've seen is that the youth that aren't able to, for a number of different reasons, but those reasons make sense to them, aren't able to maintain that level of stability, or they'll leave the system early, and they don't have a real solid support system. I think that those are the youth that are more likely to become homeless or are at a greater risk to become homeless. And research actually supports that as well, that those young people who leave before the ages of 19 or so tend to have an increased risk of being homeless.
Wonderful. Before we let the wonderful Greg Harris speak, I am going to say that you are listening to Making Waves with Pastor Mia on Heaven 600, and tonight's topic is foster care system, aging out of the system. And the sponsors are Nelson's Auto, the Home Store, and FN Inspirational Faith Network.
And I just want to add again, family support, family support, family support, and working with our families, and really trying to help our young people stay as connected to their families as possible, because at the end of the day, after they're 21 or 26 and the state is no longer providing some level of support for them, all we have is our loved ones or our family that we can lean on.
Absolutely.
Or support as well.
Right. I'm Greg Harris, One Family Services. I think, we see, definitely as they start to matriculate and we see the 17, 18, 19 years old, and all the factors, they struggle with following, just basic regimens or things like that, and like you said, AWOLs. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be homeless. One of the things we know about our young people is they are extremely resourceful.
Yes.
Extremely resourceful. So, one of the things we like to do is focus on the good. And so though they may be labeled defiant or may be labeled as non-compliant,
Yes.
We have been able many times to try to connect and to try to redirect that behavior or those attitudes or the mindset to try to create, something, out of that can work out in very positive form. And again, one of the main things is, again, family connection, because the reality of homelessness is when nothing else has worked out. And, even after the fact, we try to stay connected and be a listening ear and maybe steer them or direct them in a way to be able to gain resources. And that's the biggest thing, to be able to gain resources to try to prevent homelessness in our youth and our young people.
Wonderful. Mr.
Pastor Mia, I'm
Yes, sir.
sorry, if I can chime in, I don't really get to deal with it from the predicting of it because I'm not inside the particular system, but I catch many of the homeless youth as they've already went through various systems. And when you start talking about homelessness amongst youth, foster care, if you ask me in my personal experience, is a small portion of that population. And one of the things that I've noticed consistent with youth that deal with homelessness is they have major issues with authority.
Yes.
Most of the homeless youth that come into my program and that I encounter through my program, there's a building of a bridge between that young person, as the gentleman from One Family First, Brother Greg said, with following directions, but even taking it to another level to where they struggle with respecting authority and dealing with people in authority. I mean, and coming into our program where you voluntarily come in, it's one thing to look at it that way when you've been court ordered or mandated, but you voluntarily come and say you want to participate, but you buck everything beyond just not being compliant. But I'm talking about to where there's an aggressiveness towards it, and being that I like to try to get to what the bottom line with that is, and many times it's a lack of nurturing. I sat with a brother today, literally today, and spoke with him for over an hour and a half and wound up praying with him. And this brother, from his parents through to a childhood friend that he looked up to, had pretty much betrayed what trust he had. So anybody that came to him in a form of authority, he had that same aggression towards them because that was his feeling out process for you. And that's just one of the things that I notice with people, because it comes to a point that rather than be subject, they'll be homeless.
I absolutely understand. I've seen it myself. The question I have is for Tiffany as well as for Wayne. In your personal experience as a foster child, when you aged out till now, have you experienced, inconsistent stability as far as housing? Have you experienced times in your life where you felt like, where you were homeless, I guess?
Yes. I mean, yes, I have experienced that throughout my childhood, and except when I was into the stable foster care homes, the homes that were stable, like the Lee residence, the Proctor residence, and my godmother house. I mean, when it was stable there, I was okay. But like he said about the authority thing, I always bucked against authority because I felt as though that, I guess, I'm assuming even them, I always bucked. I never was disrespectful, but I was disrespectful.
Okay.
So they would be like, oh, you gotta go. And I'd be like, okay, well, I guess I'll be in somebody's gutter, or I'll be in somebody's backyard, or I'll be wherever I have to be until I get my shelter, or you know. And then I had my son at 16, so he was with me too. So it was either I was sleeping at my girlfriend's house, or my cousin's house, and what was so sad, I literally remember having a conversation of when we getting our food stamps, like when we getting our money together so we can move, or what we going to do, how we going to put our food stamps together, how we going to put our money together so we get a better apartment or whatever. I mean, I just remember,
The struggle.
and I just remember talking about that. I mean, it's nothing wrong with having food stamps. If you're going to use that to get ahead, okay. But at 16, talking about food stamps, I think that was a problem.
All right.
You know?
Thank you, Wayne.
Yes, Pastor. I want to backtrack just a little, excuse me, backtrack just a little bit to give you an idea of where my homelessness came from. Coming through foster care, growing up, I'm 40 years old now, but I was a foster kid in the 80s. So there weren't a lot of checks and balances in place in the 80s that there are now. And I came out of foster care in the early 90s. But back in the 80s, when I was in foster care, you could pretty much come up with anything, any story you wanted to and get a foster kid. And most of us foster kids back then were looked at as a check, plain and simple. So I want to go back to what I said about foster parents need to be put through a rigorous background check. And to touch on something that was also said earlier, I never knew I had the option of seeing my family. As a foster child, I was made to write letters saying that I was scared of my mother.
Oh yeah, I remember.
A woman that I never got to meet until years later. I actually wrote letters saying that I was scared to see my foster mother because I was afraid she was going to do something to me. And I'm a child. I'm under the age of 10. I didn't know what I was doing.
Wow.
I grew up in a foster home where, yes, I was blessed to have a foster father who loved me and cared for me. I'm not saying that my foster mother didn't care for me either, but psychologically things were not right. So I went through a lot of psychological abuse. And I put that stuff to the side. I put it in the back of my mind. But it's just like that junk drawer in the kitchen or that closet. You can keep stuffing stuff in there and putting stuff in there, but eventually it's either going to come off the hinges or the bottom's going to fall out that drawer. When that stuff comes falling out, it goes everywhere. So let's fast forward a little while, a little couple years ahead or whatever, right? So now I'm in society. I decided to go into the military myself, 4 years Marine Corps, honorably discharged. But one day, everything that I went through in the past came rushing back to me. Being told that I was going to be a junkie like my mother. Being made fun of when my brother died and my foster parent went to the funeral of my brother and told me to go die like my brother. I don't want to get too graphic, I don't want to take up too much time, but I'm just trying to explain to you why I went through what I went through.
It's real. It's needed. Speak, brother.
Yes.
And yes, I became addicted to drugs and homeless because of the psychological stuff that I went through back then. Because when you're a child, you're being told that you're a piece of East Baltimore trash, and that you're not wanted, and you're not loved, you're not worthy. You may be able to fight it off for a while, but it's still back there, and eventually it comes rushing to the front. And yes, so I went through those things. I've been out here in the streets sleeping in abandoned houses, empty cars, doing the various illegal drugs. And I'm going to put it out there. I'm still fighting the court system right now to get my freedom back because of the bad choices that I made. I'm saying all this to say that there are a lot of kids out here who are very smart and just looking for love. But you got to put the right people in their lives in order to nurture that. You can't just give a child to anybody. It's just a shame you got to go through a more rigid background check for a gun than you do for another life.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So I thank God today, because it's my Father God is the reason that I'm sitting here first and foremost to be able to tell this story.
Right.
Because He brought me back to a sane state of mind.
Yes.
But there were years and a lot of time that I spent out there angry, hurt, and upset, not able to figure out why is it that I didn't get to grow up with my brothers and sisters. Why is it that now that I'm a father, I can't do for my child the way she needs to be done for? You know, this is a cycle that needs to be broken.
Amen.
Amen. I'm not gonna cry because y'all know I'm a crybaby. I'm not gonna cry. I do want to ask Greg and Marvin, and I want to ask Wayne this question, and it's about black male leadership. What role do you think it should play with our foster care youth? Any one of you three can jump in.
I've never considered him a foster child, but one of my 2 sons that everybody know as one of the boys is biologically my cousin.
Okay.
His mother, who was my cousin, passed away when he was 14 months old. He's been with me ever since. It wasn't my choice. There was a situation in my family at the time involving CPS where the person who wanted to get him wasn't able to. And we went to court, and the social worker, we had met several times, and she said that she thought best case for him would be to be with me. I said, huh? What? Yeah. I mean, since then, a little time after that, I got custody of my own son, and I've kind of shared custody of my daughter, and now my 18-year-old daughter and my 2 sons live in my house. Even beyond that, during my time working in the Job Corps program, working at the Malcolm X Youth Center, working now at the in the mayor's office in youth services and moreover the youth opportunity programs. Just who I've been in the Baltimore West Siders Marching Band, the Shutdown Academy as a football coach, I've accumulated sons everywhere. And when I say sons, I don't say that lightly, because there are people that still feel accountable to me. I've had young men explain to me how their success is connected to who I chose to be in their space. And I say all that to say, not to pat myself on the back, because these are things that you've known me for years and never heard me speak about. However, I say it because the responsibility that I've found to every son, every man's son, whether he's mine or not, right down to little Jason, who goes to my church now, who has started to follow me home on Sundays, called me to come pick him up, and his mother actually calls him my son. Sonship and fatherhood is something that comes right from the Father. I didn't know who I was until I discovered that I was a son of the Father. And it brought me back from a life where I spent time in prison, and you know a lot of my background, Pastor Mia. So I think that it's critical. I think that every man has a responsibility to father sons. One of the things that I did today as people going into this little short month that they want us to recognize and acknowledge Black history, I told them that Black history ain't about the people who, from slavery till now, the Africans in America that made contributions to this country. That's not real Black history. To me, Black history is what is my legacy going to be.
Amen.
Those that have gone before me did their part and have allowed me to be who I am, but who am I going to be? And every man has to examine his own self. And if your only contribution is to the sons that you father biologically, those that are in your house, I know guys who are better fathers to their girlfriend's sons than to their own biological children, which I think is ugly. However, who are you going to be? What's going to be your legacy? Is your legacy going to be one that you've impacted people? I mean, I got one in California, one that's down in Florida on his way up to Philly, and I talk to them regularly because they feel it's important to let me know what's going on in their life and give me that space to be a dad to them.
All right, Greg.
Oh, we're going to collect an offering.
Yeah, because it's been costly too. Look, tuition paid, but the rent ain't due. It's a labor of love.
Yeah, it is. That's good. That's good. Just as he was speaking and sharing, the thing that came to me was when after his death, burial, and resurrection, and Jesus met with his disciples, he said, you know, do you love me? He said, yeah, I love you. He said, well, feed my sheep. All right. He said, do you love me? I love you, yeah. Feed my lambs. He said, do you love me? He said, Lord, you keep asking me this question. Yeah, you know I love you. He said, feed my sheep. You know, it's like, you know, we can say and we can, you know, testify a lot about how we love the Lord, but yet we have these lives that are around us that need, you know, there's young men that need what you have. You know, to say that, you know, thinking, have I been forgotten? Have I been, you know, what is my future? You know, they need to hear that yes, you can make it. You know, what was that movie say? If you can take it, you can make it. You know,
Absolutely.
and I think that is awesome, and that is dynamic. And you know, my kids are out and grown, and so now I'm a granddad, and I know, right? And so you know that the attention is redirecting to the youth and the young people as far as how to be that influence in their lives. And yeah, it's desperately needed to just nurture that manhood in them,
Absolutely.
to nurture it, the godlike manhood in them to come forth.
Absolutely, I absolutely positively agree, and that was one of the reasons why, as Wayne's pastor, I invited him to come on this show, because I felt like his story would definitely be a blessing to so many people. And sometimes sisters are so much more willing to tell their story than brothers. And so I would commend him for stepping up and saying, sure, I'll tell it. Because so many times brother be like, I ain't talking about it. I just stuff it, I compartmentalize, I forget it, I shut it out half a year ago. And so I'm just really, really proud of him, and so happy that he came tonight, and he was early too. Ready. So I'm just so happy and so proud of him. What would you like to say on that question?
I was truly blessed to have a foster father who did the best with what he was able to do. Now my foster father, and I'm not saying this to slander anybody's character or put anybody down, because everybody has their own journey that they take, takes in life. And my foster father was diagnosed as a schizophrenic. So there were a lot of days where there was a lot of instability in my life. But there were also days where he made a great impression on my life. This man is dead and gone now, but I dream about him every night. And I remember the first time he took me fishing, the first time he taught me how to work on the car, the first time he taught me how to sew a hole in my pants, how to cook for myself. This man did give me a lot of skills that I needed to survive out here on the streets years later. And I think that is important for a lot of young black men to see out here now, because the media is portraying these images of violence, sex, drugs, and just a lot of illicit activities that's going to lead nowhere, that in turn is going to put you back into the legal system, and it's going to be an endless cycle. So I think a lot of our young men out here need to see positive male black role models out here. And that's something I'm working towards myself, because even at 40 years old, I'm still trying to learn how to be a man myself.
Me too.
Never ends.
Never
Gotta be a woman. Never ends.
Really quickly, because time is slipping away from us, I would like to ask Greg from One Team Family Services to give the contact number for One Team Family Services, so that concerned citizens who are interested in maybe making a difference in a young person's life could contact One Family Services. Okay.
So I'm going to use two parts about that. If you would like to be a parent, we always have availabilities for parent. We have a training, a training that helps our parents know how to identify the strengths, how to stay connected to the birth family, and so that's 410-578-8004. And then also, if there's individuals out there that want to join our team and be a counselor or be a caseworker, you can call and ask as well. So again, that would be 410-578-8004. And what that number is, that's our ad line. So call in, leave your name and information, and then somebody will get back with you regarding information to invite you to join one of our orientations to become either a parent or to become staff.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, before we wrap up, I would like to give Wayne and also Tiffany an opportunity to go more in depth about sharing their story, because we've heard so much already, but I would like to give you guys an opportunity. So we're going to start with Wayne, and the only reason why I'm not doing ladies first is because I know that Wayne is, I want to make sure he has an opportunity to speak, because this is the way he can talk. Okay, she will take up all the time. So, go ahead, Wayne.
I'm going to make this brief.
Okay.
What I want to tell any young person that may be listening to this right now is that no matter what you have gone through, no matter what you have done, it doesn't define you as a person.
Amen.
Everybody makes mistakes, but God has the final say-so in who and what you will be. I have been homeless. I've been addicted to drugs. I've been through prison. I have been through a lot of things that would take a lot of other people off the face of this earth. But I'm here as a testament to God's grace and mercy.
Amen.
Amen.
And I want to let the young people, or anybody who's listening right now, know that if you're going through something, pray on it. Talk to God. Build a relationship with Him.
Amen.
And on this earth, talk to somebody about what you're going through. Just because you feel some kind of way doesn't mean somebody may not understand what you're going through. And you've got to get it off your chest. You've got to get it open. That's the only way you can heal. That's the only way you're going to be able to heal, is to talk about it and get it off your chest. I can't stress that enough, because I walked around for years cursing and angry at the sky, walking through the woods, literally cursing and mad and upset, wondering why I wasn't loved, why things weren't going the way I wanted to. When all the time I do, I just had to sit somebody down and talk about it before I made a lot of the bad decisions that I made. So I'm just going to leave it at that right there.
Wow. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you, thank you. Before I allow the wonderful and fabulous Tiffany Proctor to speak, I just want to say again, the views expressed by guests are not those of Making Waves and its sponsors. Thank you so much.
First and foremost, I just want to give honor to my Lord and Savior for just keeping my sanity through the struggle, through the pain of what I went through, and directing me into the path of greatness and success. When I went into foster care, I was 12 years old, and before meeting the Lee family, which is a wonderful family, I was at a home. I never forget the street address was it was on Violet Avenue. And the husband of the lady that took me in was raping the kids and raping the babies and raping the teenagers that were there. And to God be the glory, the only reason why I could not get raped that time is because I got a baseball bat. And I took the little babies with me in a closet, and I will never forget when the man came in there, he told the lady that I was crazy and that I had to go. And I thank God that he spared me. And that was one incident. And then when I went into the Lee family, but before that, they put me in a group home. And boy, that group home, it was on Fayette Street. I'm not going to go into details, so you'll probably know exactly which group home. But in that group home, ooh, child, I never forget we had to take showers with shampoo, which is fine. But it was crazy there too. And through all that, I'm a diabetic. I was born with diabetes. I'm a type 1 diabetic. And I never forget having a seizure, and one of the employees there said, I hope you die. I was like, it was nothing but God. And I remember seizing, and the ambulance came, and my father, oh my God. Even though I was in foster care, because my father, they called him, he was up there, and then all hell broke loose. But anyway, that's a whole nother issue. We would have to have lunch, dinner, and probably an overnight stay for that one. And then I was introduced to the Lee family. And because of what I went through and because of me even the process of me even going to foster care, I know for a fact that my behavior was really, really unruly because I was a part of DJJ and DSS. Then me doing the things that I was doing, being bad, being mischief, or what have you, got raped in the process of that, got pregnant at the age of 16. But I thought I was grown. Okay? I thought I was grown. Age 16, didn't know nothing. I had strong, beautiful sisters trying to lead me, trying to guide me, trying to help me. And when I left at home, it wasn't even my fault, but it just was a lot. It's just a lot. Anywho, through all that, had my son at 16. Met my ex-husband in a psychiatric ward. He's the counselor. I was the patient. I still don't, you know, of course you want to say where your burdens up. I still don't blame him. I just blame the situation. But God, that's all I can say. Had 4 beautiful children. Left him, met the love of my life, and now through all of that, I've spoke to teenagers. I help with the homeless. I try to do my part to help in the communities as we speak. They call me the choir philanthropist or whatever, how you want to put it. They call me Moses. A lot of people say, you're a Moses, I'm just a woman for them. Because I try to change lives daily. I have a passion for helping others. I'm a successful entrepreneur. I make a very nice income, and I'm just here to help others. And if you want to know more, try to get in contact with Minister Me. Stay blessed.
All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Again, I have tried not to cry during this whole show. And I think I did a good job. I think I held back the tears. I may cry later. But again, this show is Making Ways to Pastor Me on Heaven 600. And this show was called Foster Care System, Aging Out of the System. And I would like to personally thank all of my panelists for coming tonight and being a blessing to not only myself, but to our listening audience. Good night.